Welcome back. All right, I'm just gonna get right into this. I usually talk about incidents that just occurred, but today I'm gonna talk about something that happened about 8 months ago. I'm talking about it because it's all in the news right now. I don't agree with everything that's out there, so here's my 2 cents. Back in December 18, a United Airlines Boeing 777-200 departed Maui for San Francisco, and shortly after takeoff, they went to a steep dive and came very close to putting the aircraft into the ocean. Now, I was a 777 pilot for United Airlines, and I was based in San Francisco for a good part of my career, so this story really hit home for me. So let me just give you the facts, and then I'm gonna go into what I think some other people might have missed when it comes to looking at what happened here. All right, so here's the facts. We have a Boeing 777 United 1722 departs Maui for San Francisco. On climb out, flies into heavy rain. At about 60 seconds after departure, at an altitude of 2,200 feet, the aircraft went into a steep dive, about 20 degrees nose down. They reached a speed of 295 knots, and they came to 748 feet from hitting the water before they were able to recover, pull back up. They climbed out at I think they reached a vertical speed of 8,600 feet per minute. They pulled 2.7 Gs and they recovered, and they continued on their merry way to San Francisco. No harm, no foul. Everybody made it there safely. Now, I think the question is really not just the facts, but why did this happen? What was going on in that cockpit? And more importantly, what were the other links in the chain that could have been broken to maybe help out here and prevent this from happening? All right, so let's look at the pilots flying the aircraft now. According to the NTSB statement, the captain had 19,600 hours, 5,000 hours in type. That's some good experience in this aircraft, okay? They departed runway 2 into heavy rain. The captain opted for flaps 20, max thrust. He opted to hand fly the aircraft and use the auto thrust system. Again, normal, check, standard procedure. All right, at acceleration altitude, he lowered the nose, called for flaps 5. Here's where it gets just a little bit dicey. Apparently the first officer misunderstood him, misheard him, and gave him flaps 15, not flaps 5. Well, when that happened, the VMO, MMO moved in the opposite direction that the captain was expecting. Now the VMO is the max operating speed, MMO is the max operating Mach number. What's going to happen is those red ticks are going to come crashing down on your airspeed indicator. So the captain's training kicked in. He immediately performed the CFIT recovery maneuver, controlled flight into terrain, max thrust, pitch up. He reversed the downward trend. He went into an 8,600 foot per minute climb, pulling 2.7 Gs. That could not have been fun for the passengers.
A United 777 diving toward the ocean just after takeoff.
It certainly felt like a roller coaster.
Rod Williams was traveling home from vacation with his family.
It's one of those things where you start counting your blessings. You start, asking yourself, is this the last time you're going to see your family?
Okay, so let's look at the first officer now. According to his statement to the NTSB, he had 5,300 hours total time, 120 hours in type. Prior to working for United, he was a pilot for Hawaiian Air, so he was very familiar with this airport, with this type of weather, with the island hopping. So we had 2 very experienced crews here. All right, according to the first officer's statement, when the captain called for the flap retraction, which he heard 15, the captain says he said flaps 5. That command came at the exact same time that the air traffic controller gave the aircraft a frequency change to departure. I don't know, 60 seconds after takeoff, maybe ATC should let the pilots fly the airplane. It was a very poor weather, thunderstorms, wind shear, LOS warnings. All right, just saying, that's another issue. All right, so the first officer stated that he knew the captain was having difficulty with airspeed control, and he noticed that his pitch had turned to a negative pitch angle. The first officer guessed they went about 10 degrees nose down. It actually was quite a bit more than that. The first officer also noted that he believed that the airspeed had exceeded VFE by about 20 to 30 knots, and that he thought they were about 10 degrees nose down. The jip whiz went off, a ground proximity warning. First officer stated that he repeatedly said, "Pull up to the captain," which would be, I assume, just repeating what the GPS was saying. I'm guessing the captain probably heard the GPS.
Speed, terrain. Overspeed. Pull up. Too low. Terrain. Overspeed.
I'm assuming he was just repeating what the captain was already listening to on the GPWS, enunciations. They did make a recovery and climbed altitude and continued on to San Francisco, landing uneventfully. Now, they debriefed this when they got to altitude, and they decided not to return to the airport because they didn't see any structural problems with the aircraft. I question that a little bit. I mean, they exceeded VFE by quite a lot. That is a structural limit that would require a maintenance inspection, and they pulled 2.7 Gs. This aircraft's only rated for 2.5 Gs. That's a lot of force on the airframe to continue on over the ocean. But everything seemed fine to them, and so they continued. All right, next. So what did the pilots do when they got to San Francisco? Well, looks like they did everything right. They landed, they immediately informed maintenance about the flap over speed so that an inspection could occur before the aircraft went on. They informed the company about what happened. They informed the union, and they filed an FSAP, or an ASAP. So what is that? An ASAP is the Aviation Safety Action Program, and basically it's just a voluntary program where something occurs that a pilot can file a report. The FAA gets it, United Airlines gets it, and it's for the purpose of increasing safety so that other pilots are aware of a mistake that maybe one pilot makes so that they can learn from it. What happens to the FSAP reports? Well, these reports are put together in a very useful way by the airlines. They incorporate these reports into what's called our AQP program. So now, what's an AQP program? Okay, so what is AQP? AQP stands for Advanced Qualifications Program, and basically it's a systematic training program where they take data from either pilots that are self-reporting or information they get from flight data recorders, and they look at trends, they look at mistakes that pilots have made, and they turn those into training events so that everybody gets to learn from them. Now, you have a pilot like that works for an airline, you have to go for recurrent training a lot throughout your career. After 20 years, do you really need to keep practicing turns about a point? No. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go into the simulators and you're gonna practice real life events. You're gonna get to do do-overs from mistakes that other pilots have made. It is a fantastic way to train pilots. It's very realistically based, and the airlines really got it going on with this system. All right, so I'd like to make the point that the pilots immediately self-reported when this happened. The company got right on it. These pilots got extra training, and then the company turned this into a training event for everybody else. They really did turn lemons into lemonade with this. There was no cover-up here. The pilots were very forthright. The company was very forthright. But what did not happen? What did not happen was the NTSB was not informed that this event had happened. Why was the NTSB not informed? Well, let's look at that. Okay, so why did United Airlines not inform the NTSB? Well, because they were following the regulations. According to federal regulations, Part 830, there are 12 reasons why you would file a report with the NTSB. An incident, an accident, or an occurrence has to fall into one of these 12 categories. And apparently, an escape maneuver where you came seconds from killing 281 people does not qualify in any of those 12 categories. Now, if I had my way, I think I would add a 13th category. It would say something like, any event or occurrence that results in any significant deviation from known standard: A, vertical flight path; B, horizontal flight path; C, thrust; D, indicated airspeed; E, pitch attitude; or F, aircraft configuration, should be a reportable event to the NTSB. But it's not, and who cares what I have to say? All right, so the NTSB, though, did end up doing a report. So how did that come about? Well, what happened was on February 12th, a aviation safety journalist named John Astor put out a report on social media. Then the very next day, February 13th, Blanco did a video on this incident also. So the NTSB, they weren't aware of this, they weren't doing anything about it, but social media shined a light on this and they really were shamed into it. They had no choice but to investigate this because the aviation community demanded it. All right, so March 8th is when they finally decided, all right, we're gonna start doing our own investigation. Okay, so let's look at the NTSB report. What did they come up with? Well, the preliminary report came out and basically it said nothing. It was pretty useless. All right, that's preliminary, we'll give them a chance here, right? Then the final report came out and basically it said nothing. It was useless. There was nothing in there that already wasn't all over social media. Honestly, I got more information listening to Blanco than reading this report. Their final conclusion basically just said pilot error. They came to the conclusion, probable cause and findings. The National Transportation Safety Board determines the probable cause of this incident to be the flight crew's failure to manage the airplane's vertical flight path, airspeed, and pitch attitude following a miscommunication about the captain's desired flap setting during the initial climb. No kidding. That's it? $1 million report here, and that's it? Where's the recommendations? How is this increasing safety? Let's take a look at the NTSB's mission. What is the purpose of the NTSB? Okay, so what is the purpose of the NTSB? What is their mission statement? Where are all of our tax dollars going? Okay, well, let's take a look at this. So the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, established in 1967. It's a federal agency mandated by Congress, and their job is to determine probable causes of accidents and then issue safety recommendations. I don't really see that happening. Honestly, I didn't get much out of this report that I didn't already see on FlightAware or from social media. Where are the safety recommendations? Why is the onus on the airlines to take this information and make good use of it? Now, granted, the airlines are highly self-motivated here. It's probably not very good for business to crash airplanes, but I don't know, it just seems like for $1 million report, I expect a little bit more. Okay, so everyone has chalked this up to pilot error, right? Even Robert Sumwalt, the former chair of the NTSB, he put his 2 cents up on social media saying he despises pilot error. However, this was nothing but pilot error. Thank you, Robert Sumwalt, for that deep analysis. All right, I agree there was some pilot error going on here, but you know what? There are a lot more links in the chain than just one factor. And I don't understand why nobody has looked into some other aspects of this accident other than what the pilot's actions were. Now, a big question that I have is, what was ATC doing during all of this? Now, I'm not saying it was ATC's fault. Please, everybody, rein in the hate mail. All I'm saying is that ATC seems to have been completely oblivious to an aircraft under their positive control going into a plummet and then going into a extremely steep climb. 2 controllers involved in this. The local controller, you know, we've got LWAS warnings, they have severe weather. Why were they not paying any attention to this aircraft on departure? And then the next controller also seemed completely oblivious to what the profile of this aircraft was. Again, I'm not saying the controllers are to blame, but I'm curious, A, why they didn't seem to notice it at all, and B, why nobody is questioning why ATC didn't notice this at all. All right. Okay, so now when this incident occurred, the cockpit voice recorder was not preserved. It was not preserved because the incident was not reported to the NTSB. And so the aircraft continued on and the voice recorder was recorded over. And this has become like a really big deal. People are super upset about this. They want to hear what the pilots were talking about. They want to hear their real-time conversation. I do too. I think it's a very big safety tool to hear all of that. But at the same time, it seems like so much emphasis is put on a pilot, I don't know, in a sterile cockpit, maybe asking, what do you want to have for dinner or something like that. And then 5 minutes later, something occurs and everyone's all over them because they had, extraneous, unnecessary conversation in the cockpit. Okay, granted, that's something that needs to be looked at, but this is the part that I don't understand. Why is air traffic control not ever examined in the same respect? Now, I've spent a lot of time hanging out at TRACONs and centers and control towers, international control towers, small control towers, and something that I've noticed that is absolutely consistent with every single facility that I've been in is that there are a lot of distractions. There's a lot of extraneous conversation. There's always tours being given and people's friends are visiting and people are on their phone and they're watching games, they're talking about football scores, and there's no area mic. There's nothing recording what is going on in these facilities, what is going on in between the transmissions between the controller and the pilots. Now, if you look at our industry lately, there have been a lot of errors all the way around. There's been quite a few runway incursions, and yeah, a lot of them have been chalked up to ATC error. So why is it that we are not allowed to know what their distractions are, what's going on in those facilities? Why are there no area mics to record what possibly could have been causing some of these air traffic controller errors? I don't know. That's just a question that I have. I think a thorough investigation should include all the different professionals that are involved, and all the information should be available, not just what the pilots were talking about maybe in the background. Okay, well, that pretty much sums it up. I'm hoping that some more good comes out of this incident. The airlines, they definitely have stepped up to the plate. They use all these incidents to enhance safety and to keep their airplanes flying safely. I'd like to see other agencies, have the same type of programs and do the same things. I'd really like to see when something occurs, all the links in the chain are examined, not just what the pilots did wrong, but a deep dive into, what's going on outside of the cockpit that could have contributed. And there are a lot of incidents occurring lately, runway incursions, other incidents that have been ATC errors. And are they overworked? Are they overstressed? Do they have a lot of new hires? Like, what's going on there? I'd really like to see investigations include more information, because that can only increase safety. All right, that's it. Thank you everybody for hanging in here to the end. I really do appreciate it. And keep the feedback coming. I've been getting lots of feedback telling me everything I'm doing wrong. Totally cool, because it's all new for me and I am learning, and I really do appreciate any information you give me, because I can only do things better, right? So thank you. If you want to see more, like and subscribe. And that's it. I hope everybody has a great day. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.